This is the story of the proud rich man. Once upon a time, in a prosperous village surrounded by golden savannas and flowing rivers, there lived a wealthy man named Oba. Oba was the richest man in the village, owning the largest herds of cattle, fields of millet, and a grand home built from the finest clay. But Oba was also known for his pride. He believed his wealth made him better than everyone else and often looked down on the poor. One evening, as the sun set over the village, a mysterious old traveler arrived. His clothes were dusty, his sandals worn out, and his walking stick as thin as a reed. The traveler knocked on Oba's grand door and humbly asked for a small meal and a place to rest for the night. Oba looked at the traveler with disdain. "Why should I share my food or home with a beggar like you?" he scoffed. "Go and sleep under a tree where you belong." The old traveler bowed his head and walked away, seeking shelter elsewhere. But before he left, he turned to Oba and said, "A man's wealth is only as valuable as the kindness he shares. Beware of your pride, for it may one day humble you." Oba laughed loudly. "I have all I need. No one can humble me." A few weeks later, a great drought swept through the land. The rivers dried up, the fields withered, and the cattle became thin. Oba's granaries, once full, were slowly emptied as he fed his family and livestock. He refused to share his food with the villagers, believing his wealth would protect him from the drought's effects. But the drought persisted, and soon Oba's wealth began to disappear. His fields turned into dust, his cattle died of thirst, and his family grew hungry. Desperate, Oba went to the village, begging for food and water. But they reminded him of how he turned them away in his time of plenty. "Haven't we all suffered?" they said. "When you had more than enough, you didn't share. Now you must endure like the rest of us." One day, as Oba sat beneath a tree with an empty stomach, the same old traveler appeared. This time, Oba was too weak to stand. The traveler knelt beside him and handed him a calabash of water and a piece of bread. "Why help me now?" Oba asked, tears in his eyes. "After all, I was so cruel to you." The traveler smiled and said, "Because kindness is not earned, it is freely given. Perhaps now you will understand that wealth is fleeting, but generosity lasts forever." From that day on, Oba changed his ways. When rains finally returned and his fortunes recovered, he became the most generous man in the village. His wealth was no longer a source of pride, but a tool to help others. Moral of the story: wealth does not define a person. Kindness and humility do. Pride and riches can lead to downfall, but generosity brings true wealth. The end.